Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Clixin It. I, like always, am your host, Adam. So a couple days ago, I talked to you guys about feat cards. Now I want to talk to you about that other type of cardboard that you got in your old boosters, and that are battlefield conditions. As you can see, there's not that many battlefield conditions out there, a lot more feat cards out there, but these were kind of a cool aspect. Basically, it depends on your venue. You could either play one for the entire tournament, or you could play three, one for each game, or two, one for each game, and then nothing for the second one. But basically, it added an element to the game where it basically changed the map or the dynamics of the game. So real quickly, we're going to go over a couple of these. Let me switch my screen real quick. So some of my favorite ones, this was absolutely my favorite one, was Disbanded. Ignores all team abilities. So if you were going against a guy with Power Cosmic or maybe Shield or something, and your team had nothing of team abilities, you'd always want to play this one, because then their Power Cosmic was gone, their Quintessence was gone, maybe their Ultimate X-Men was gone, whatever. It just ignored it completely. It didn't counter it, which means Power Cosmic and Quintessence would have saved that, but this ignored it, which means they never happened. So then you could do some outwitting and things like that. Another one was Power Dampening Field. Damage values higher than 3 become 3 instead. So let's say you're playing against a Thanos. He's got a 5 printed damage. Well, now he's got a 3. This was always fun against like Galactuses and Spectres and stuff like that, where their damage value came down to a 3 instead of what they normally were. Another one was Crosswinds. Our buddy Dwayne, who we played with, loved this card, where characters with a wing speed symbol gain Earthbound. And this ability may not be countered, so you just can't turn off your Earthbound and stuff like that. So this was always a fun one if you knew you weren't going to have any flying characters. Another one, Inertial Interference Field. When a character makes an attack using Running Shot, Charge, or Hypersonic, reduced damage dealt by 2 and knockback damage is reduced by 1. So this was great. So if you were playing against a Flash who maybe had a printed 2 damage, if he used Hypersonic in his attack, he was getting a 0 for that attack, or for that damage value. So this was always a fun one. Another one was Astral Plane. Hindering terrain features become clear terrain for movement purposes. So this was kind of like improved movement through hindering, or Avengers Initiative, or Superman team ability. It just lets you walk through any kind of hindering terrain. And then Overconfidence was always one that I always liked, but never played it that much, because you never knew how much you were going to play against Perplex. But basically, if you had Perplex, you could only modify that character who had Perplex combat values. And then the last one was, if you didn't want to deal with BFCs, as we call them, battlefield conditions, you could just play... Oh, I thought I had it there. Maybe not. Let me find it. I have it on here. There it is. Ordinary Day, which basically canceled a battlefield condition that played against you. And how it would work was you'd set up your team, get your maps, and then on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, you both slap down your battlefield conditions, and then you would just run it out. And sometimes people would play this Ordinary Day card and kind of ruin your day and not get, or you wouldn't be able to get your battlefield condition. So those were some of my favorites. Some of the fun combinations out there were, one of my favorites was Extraordinary Madness, if you played it, because Extraordinary Day was critical hits were happening on 11 through 12, and then Madness, Extraordinary Day, 2s and 3s were critical hits, 11s and 12s were critical hits, but then if you played Madness, it switched it. So a critical miss actually turned into a critical hit, and a critical hit turned into a critical miss. So if you played those two together and someone rolled a 3, you actually crit hit that person. So real quick, out of the whole pack that I got here, I'm just going to read off some of the other ones that we have on here. We got Inferno. And that one is that at the beginning of your turn, deal 1 damage to each friendly character occupying hindering terrain not generated by power or ability. So this one kind of kept people out of hindering terrain if you were playing against Batman teams. Exhaustion, it modified all pushing damage by +1. So if you pushed and didn't have willpower, you were taking 2 damages instead of 1. Here's that Extraordinary Day one that I was talking about. You know, the Avengers finding Thanos on his shrine. That was really cool. We got Antimatter Universe. Crit hits do not increase damage dealt. That's kind of can't see it. There we kind of go. So that was a fun one. We got Radiation Leak. And I love the art on some of these ones. But when a character uses regen or when a character uses support, instead of following the rules of those abilities, roll 1d6 and subtract 3 from the result. Treat a negative result as damage dealt to the character, and that may not be evaded or reduced. So this was kind of like, oh, you're playing support? Well, you're probably going to hurt your people. And the last one I'll talk about is poor teamwork, where its characters may not be carried, or TK friendly characters. So that was always a fun one. And again, like I talked about the last one, these ones were nice, hard cardboard copies. And then once they got into Secret Invasion, which that's when they started stopping making them, but then they became the kind of flimsy plastic like I was talking about. And these ones aren't that good either. There's nowhere to hide. Squares with objects in them are not considered hindering terrain. Another one is Sabotage. Before the beginning of the first round, the player who played this battlefield condition may place an action token on any one opposing character, then continue clockwise around the table. Each other character may roll a d6 on a result of a 4 through 6. That character may place an action token on any one opposing character that does not already have one. So that one was kind of a weird one. Skull Kill Crew. That one's quite a mouthful to say. When a character with plasticity rolls to break away, subtract 2 from the result, minimum 1. When a character uses super senses or shape change, roll d6, subtract 1 from the result, minimum 1. And I think that was it. Yep, pretty much it. But like I said, there were a ton of them out there. I am indifferent about them. I liked them, but I didn't like them. They're kind of like with the map bonuses now is what they're kind of turning these into. Malice. Oh, real quick. Let me talk about Malice. This was a fun one. If you never saw this card, I get the lighting right there. At the end of each player's turn, if none of his or her characters made an attack against an opposing character, that player chooses a friendly character and deals 1 unavoidable damage. So this makes you just not sit back and not do anything. That is basically, if you don't attack, you're going to take a damage from somebody. Now that can be helpful with like activation clicks like Immortal Hulk or people like that. But yeah, that's it for reliving the good old days of BFCs. Let me know what you guys think. Like I said, I'm indifferent about them. I like them, but sometimes they just kind of ruin the game, especially like poor teamwork, where if you came with a Power Cosmic team or a Quintessence team or something like that and really relied on the team ability, and then your opponent was just like, nope, you don't have anything. It kind of sucked. So it did kind of ruin your day. And like I said, depending on the venue, you either got to use 1 BFC for the entire tournament or 1 per game that you played. But I always brought an ordinary day just because I didn't want to deal with those for most of the time unless it helped me out using a BFC, obviously. But that's it for BFCs. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Next video, we're going to be talking about Pogs. And we kind of did this on our podcast the other day about what's your favorite bystander. But I want to know, what's your favorite Pog? My, personally, was Space Phantom from Supernova. We just did him. I forgot how many points he was, but I think he was 9 points for plasticity and shape change. And there was also another one, Amadeus Chow, however you want to say it. He had Outwit, but it was a power action. And then who can forget the good old Alfred Pog that gave you the Batman team ability for wildcard abuse. But that's going to be it for this episode. Hope you guys like this one. Make sure you check us out on YouTube, Facebook, podcast, and our Patreon to support the show. We'd love it if you did. We're still looking for that uncommon patron for that first uncommon tier. So hope you like the show. See you next time. Stay safe, and as always, keep clicking it.